Welcome to another World History 2 topic walkthrough, brought to you by Mr. Michael, Social Studies teacher. This video is here to help you fill out your lecture notes, understand the big ideas, and maybe even laugh once or twice. So grab your notes and let's get started.
Imagine waking up one day and boom, everything's powered by machines. No more spinning wool by hand or walking 12 kilometers just to buy salt. Welcome to the world of industrialization. In this lesson, we're diving into why this game-changing transformation kicked off in Britain first. Spoiler alert, it wasn't just luck. From wealthy landowners fencing off farms to coal-powered steam engines, we'll unpack the real reasons the modern world got plugged in and fired up. All right, brainiacs, here's what we're tackling today. The Industrial Revolution didn't just show up like a surprise test. It happened in Britain first, thanks to a wild mix of farming upgrades, natural resources, and some seriously good timing. We're going to break down how new farming methods and available resources didn't just boost food, they reshaped the whole labor game. Think fewer farmers, more factory workers, and cities that started blowing up in size. Stick with us, because understanding these causes is like unlocking the cheat code for how the modern world got built. Check out Europe in 1870. Industrial vibes all over the place. But guess who's flexing the hardest? Yep, the United Kingdom. While other countries like France and Germany are catching up, Britain's already out here with dense factory zones, coal mines, and big industrial cities. That's not a coincidence. The early start gave Britain a head start in global power and production. And just like that one kid who starts the group project a week early, they're suddenly in charge of everything. All right, let's see how this industrial snowball got rolling in the first place. The Industrial Revolution officially kicked off in mid-18th century Britain, but it didn't begin with machines or factories. It started on the farm. Wealthy landowners began buying up small village plots and transforming them into massive enclosures, which were large fields surrounded by fences or hedges. These enclosures weren't just about marking territory, they allowed landowners to farm more efficiently and experiment with new techniques on a much larger scale. The result? Bigger farms, better control, and higher agricultural productivity. But while the landowners leveled up, many small farmers lost their access to land and livelihoods. This agricultural shift was one of the first major sparks of the Industrial Revolution, defined as the dramatic increase in the output of machine-made goods. Agriculture was no longer just about feeding people, it was about fueling a transformation in labor, society, and eventually, industry. Coming up next, we'll look at how this shift in farming powered a population boom and set the stage for serious change. Once land was enclosed into large private farms, landowners had the space and control to try out new agricultural methods. And that's where things got revolutionary. One major technique was crop rotation. Instead of planting the same crop every year, which drains the soil, farmers began switching crops yearly. For example, wheat one year, turnips the next. Each plant played a role in restoring soil nutrients. It wasn't just smart farming, it was science on the soil. Then came the livestock breeders, who ditched the random mating method and started selecting only the strongest, fattest animals to reproduce. This selective breeding led to larger, healthier animals, more meat, more milk, and more money. Together, crop rotation and better breeding turned farms into food factories. And with more food came more people, setting up the perfect storm for industrial growth. Next up, we'll see how this farming boom pushed people off the land and straight into the cities. As enclosure movements expanded, small farmers faced a stark choice: pay rent, to work land they once owned, or leave rural life behind. These displaced individuals often became tenant farmers, paying landlords with money or crops just to stay afloat. Others joined the steady migration to cities, marking one of the earliest waves of urbanization tied to industrialization. At the same time, innovations in agriculture were creating an entirely new dynamic. With larger enclosed farms, landowners could adopt efficient practices like crop rotation, which preserved soil nutrients, and selective livestock breeding, which increased the size and quality of animals. These advancements led to a major boost in food production. The results were visible across society. Food became more plentiful, living conditions slowly improved, and the population began to surge. This rising population created a growing demand for consumer goods like textiles and provided a massive labor force ready to power the new industries. In rural fields and crowded city neighborhoods alike, Britain was undergoing a transformation, one that would soon reshape not just the economy, but the structure of everyday life. Why did the Industrial Revolution kick off in Britain and not somewhere else? It wasn't luck. It was a perfect storm of advantages. First, the country was loaded with natural resources: water power to run machines, coal to fuel steam engines, iron ore to build tools and factories, and a network of rivers and harbors that made moving goods quick and cheap. These physical features gave Britain a serious edge. But geography wasn't the only factor. Britain also had an expanding economy, a strong banking system, easy access to loans, and a general atmosphere of prosperity made people more willing to take risks and invest in new ideas. Add to that a rare dose of political stability. No wars had been fought on British soil during the 1700s. And you've got the perfect climate for economic growth. And most importantly, Britain had all the factors of production needed for industrialization: land, the raw materials and natural resources; labor, a growing population of available workers; and capital, money and tools to invest in factories and machines. Combined, these elements created the launchpad for a revolution that would reshape the world. Next, we'll see how inventions and new tech took all these resources and turned them into booming industries. With the right conditions in place, Britain was ready for takeoff, and technology lit the fuse. The first big boom happened in the textile industry, where new machines allowed cloth production to speed up dramatically. Instead of spinning and weaving by hand, machines now handled it faster and more efficiently, turning Britain into the global HQ for fabric. This shift drew in entrepreneurs, risk-taking business minds who invested in new machinery and opened the first large-scale factories. But new inventions weren't just transforming industries, they were reshaping how people and goods moved. Road transportation saw major upgrades thanks to innovators like John Macadam, who designed layered roadbeds that held up in bad weather. These improved roads were often turned into toll roads, where travelers had to pay a fee to use them. Think of it as the 18th century version of a highway pass. Meanwhile, the steam engine revolutionized more than just factories. It powered steamboats, boosted canal systems, which are man-made rivers perfect for hauling heavy cargo, and kicked off the railway age. With these transportation upgrades, raw materials could get to factories faster, and finished products could be shipped across the country or overseas with ease. This was the infrastructure backbone of the Industrial Revolution, and it was just getting started. Up next, how railroads didn't just move goods, they moved people, jobs, and entire lifestyles. Steam-powered railroads weren't just cool tech. They changed the entire game. Trains made it possible to transport raw materials to factories and finished goods to markets faster and cheaper than ever before. That drop in transportation costs boosted industries like coal, iron, and textiles, creating a ripple effect across the economy. But railroads also moved people. As new tracks connected distant towns to industrial hubs, workers followed the jobs, and cities exploded in size. This migration helped fuel even more urbanization, and the growing demand for housing, food, and services created entirely new markets. The railway age didn't just move freight, it moved society into a new era. Let's bring it all together before we test your brain power with one last challenge. All right, here's what we just crushed. The Industrial Revolution began in Britain thanks to a combo of new farming techniques, access to natural resources, and a booming economy backed by political stability. Enclosures kicked farmers off their land, but boosted food production through crop rotation and livestock breeding, which in turn caused a massive population spike. With more people and fewer farming jobs, cities filled up fast. Britain also had all the factors of production, land, labor, and capital to keep the machine running. Entrepreneurs took risks, especially in the textile industry, and factories exploded across the country. Add in game-changing tech like the steam engine, better roads, canals, and the rise of railroads, and suddenly Britain was moving goods and people at full speed. But here's the real question. Can you pull all this together and think like a historian? Let's find out. Let's see if you're ready to go full Industrial Revolution mastermind. Bonus question. To what extent did the Agricultural Revolution directly cause the Industrial Revolution in Britain? Use specific evidence from enclosure movements, technological innovations, population shifts, and labor changes to support your analysis. Drop your answer in the comments and back it up with examples. No vague takes allowed. Bring the receipts if you want that bonus point. Make sure to include your name, and don't forget to like the video if this lesson actually made sense for once.